It is. What is it? February 9, 2024. Hello, Lindy and Geofactor 3, John Stuart Mill, Andrew Cruz, Step Down, Donna Davidson, Angelos, Dan Mick, Mike Lufton, Silent Walk, Sherry and Marty, thank you so much. Ray Clay, hey, Laura Larson, Patricia White, Super Painting 62, Hypocrites Matrix, hi. We're just going to jump right on into it. Too much noise here. All of the blasting music, the boom boxes, whatever they have in their cars. That has really stressed me out today. And Julie, hello. So, I just have to forget about me and get right into, how about a fire? Billings, Montana.
Wow.
Nice, isn't it? Seems to happen a lot, huh? These refineries and food plants and oh boy. More homes threatened in a different area. This is in California with their massive landslides.
Historic rainstorms and shifting land has already damaged several homes in Rancho Palos Verdes. Now it's a race against time to save others. The severe storms have made a bad situation in PV worse.
KTLA's Mary Beth McDade is live in Rancho Palos Verdes, where residents are on edge. Mary Beth.
Yes, and Mike can share that line about it's a race against time. Well, that came from the city's geologist who feels we need to hurry up and get this land to stop sliding before it can cause even further damage. This is what it looks like from the ground, and this is what it looks like from the air. Basically, no matter which way you look at it, the land in and around the Seaview neighborhood of Rancho Palos Verdes is moving.
You've got movement from the top of the Portuguese Bend area, and then it moves itself slowly down to Portuguese Bend Club on the water. So it traverses through this neighborhood, and it's always been moving to a certain extent, but it's never moved this much.
Over on Dauntless Drive, utility crews have been kept very busy.
So yesterday, we came to the house and the telephone pole was straight. Today, the telephone pole is leaning. So there's been some movement on the upper hill.
Residents and crews are dealing with mudslides, buckled streets, and ruptured gas and sewer lines, all because of land movement. This crew says they're manually bypassing a broken sewer line using this hose to send the waste around the break into another line.
The utility companies, Edison, the gas company, and Cal Water, they seem to be here 24/7.
In recent months, 2 homes had to be red tagged in the area, which is one of many on the Palos Verdes Peninsula, known for its unstable land. The Rancho Palos Verdes geologist says the recent historic storms have accelerated the issues.
Believe it or not, you're sitting on the edge of probably the largest active landslide with homes on it in the United States.
Okay, more homes are going to be going down. That's right. Sewage spill. A sewage spill in Southern California. After the storms. It's mudslides, it's landslides, it's potholes, it's sinkholes, it's cars flooded out, it's homes flooded out. Wow, and the sewage spills.
Is closed this morning after 30,000 gallons of sewage spilled into the San Gabriel River. When you walk along the beach, you'll see signs like this one saying, "Keep out of the water." And it's not just Seal Beach. LA County sanitation officials say the intense rain from this week's storms overloaded the system, leading to multiple sewage spills. County and Long Beach officials say as much as 8 million gallons of sewage spilled into the Dominguez Channel during those storms. In addition to Seal Beach, Cabrillo Beach and San Pedro, and all open coastline in Long Beach also shut down. Sanitation officials said floodwater also entered the sewer system through manholes, causing sewage to overflow onto streets at 10 locations. The LA County Sanitation District says it was all a temporary overload during the height of that storm.
Once the area is kind of safe to do work in, then we go out there with a crew and we vacuum up what we can with the truck, and then we kind of power blast things down to kind of clean it all up.
Now, for some perspective, the Sanitation District says its largest sewage treatment plant, the Warren Water Resource Facility in Carson, treats an average of 250 million gallons of sewage every day. But on Tuesday, during those intense rains, it was inundated with 560 million gallons. Now, back here live at Seal Beach, we want to tell you that the sand and the pier remain open. Again, the water is off limits until those bacteria levels test normal. Live in Seal Beach, Elise Martinez.
Nothing is normal anymore. Nothing. Tornado in Wisconsin. So last night's live, I did show radar and mentioned the out of nowhere, the immediate development of supercells. So I'm bringing this up, and you guys should be watching radar. When you see this happening, especially when these supercells just manifest out of nowhere, think tornadic activity, think severe weather, think straight-lined winds, think high wind, and think flooding. What you're seeing here is very dangerous. Very dangerous. Okay? This is Wisconsin, by the way, for those who may not know. Right here, Wisconsin. Tornadoes in Wisconsin.
This is the first sign of damage that we saw around Evansville. You can see a brick silo torn in half, all the bricks spinning. A part of a small barn had the section of the roof pulled off, and a little bit of the back wall of another barn was blown out, and another crumpled piece of aluminum from one of those barns kind of folded up, and the rest of the debris kind of blown out over across the farm field. Not far from there, another farm had the section of one of its barns roofs pulled off. You can see another barn that was housing some heavy equipment completely flattened, and the remains of that barn kind of strewn across the farm field. You can see just little tiny pieces as it was blown away. Not far from there was a home, that fairly recent construction. You can see the roof just ripped right off of that home and spread out across the driveway, almost hitting the garage. You can see kind of just a pile of timber and shingles. Just about a half mile off the shore of Lake Koshkonong, a couple of farms that had some serious damage. A silo broken in half, and you can see also a barn or two that were knocked over by this powerful storm. All in all, 14 nautical miles northeast of Evansville is where.
And Evansville.
Who would have ever dreamed in February we'd be facing a tornado like this? It came so fast and so loud. The sound was horrendous.
Last night I got home and I just was taking a shower and I could hear some banging. I got out. I got my mom protected into the bathroom. and the picture window blew out. Glass went on us. We were safe though in the bathroom then once I shut the door. 15 minutes later, I come out and I looked and I had no house roof and all the buildings are gone. I got cattle missing. I don't know what to do, just day by day and hope for the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I will put the link into that radar site. And also College of DuPage. Okay, and let's see. Whenever you see those little red circles, that portends destruction. Okay, so the links are in the site, and you don't have to be a meteorologist to look at radar or satellite, okay? And especially with everything that we have been living through year after year after year, with things that are happening more frequently, and when you see the immediacy of the outbreak of the supercells, then you really do need to take care of yourself, family, and get the trees away from your home if you can afford to, cut them down.
They went to the basement, thankfully, last night. The minute that they saw the tornado coming this way, trees are just down all over the place. Around back, we can go this way now, or you can see over here what I think is a grain bin, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong here. It just completely flipped over. We don't know where it came from. Down over there, there's a lot of farm equipment that was destroyed. All right, let's come around back. I'll slow down for you.
Of course, well, I'm just going to move ahead.
This area for the most part, right? The home right here, the barns. Yeah. And Ron, you've been rightfully so very, very emotional this morning. What's going through your mind this morning?
Oh, this place was so beautiful. And it's something that I've worked on for 10, 15 years. And it's all gone. The sheds, there's 4 sheds that are gone. The house had the roof lifted up off it and dropped back down, so it's just destroyed. It's too much to put words on even. It's just a disaster. And well, the tenants are good tenants, but I can't provide a home for them. So.
Lots of loss. So, here, it's amazing. This was a live broadcast standoff in Florida. My God. If you don't have the time to, check out what's going on all over the country every single day, you may not know that we are in really bad shape. Not even YouTube will play. Not even. Oh, thank you. Oh, a picture. Wow. It really, I mean, let's just say it is not the country I grew up in. And
good morning to you folks. JB here with you live across all platforms. It's Eagle 8 HD above Pasco County, a developing situation in Zephyr Hills. The Pasco County Sheriff's Office telling WFLA.com that they have exchanged gunfire with a suspect while serving a warrant to a home on Ruth Avenue here in Zephyr Hills this Friday morning. Now, based on what we have heard, the suspect has fired upon officers. Officers have then returned fire. This now appears to be a standoff situation that is unfolding. Eagle 8 HD is, of course, circling the home on Ruth Avenue where this is currently taking place. What we're looking...
Oh, it's so tiring. It is. It's just tiring. And here... we have an awful lot of criminals who commit crime and then they're released back into the streets, but Canadian MP wants to put you in prison for endorsing fossil fuels? What? Bill C-372 seeks penalties up to $1 million and 2 years in prison for promoting fossil fuels as anything less than an existential threat to humanity. Just when you thought Canada couldn't get any more Stalinist, an MP from the country's far left NDP party, excuse me, is calling for any speech that promotes fossil fuels. Even truthful statements like comparing the relative emissions of natural gas to coal to be banned and criminalized. It is MP Charlie Angus from Timmins in northern Ontario. Oh, Elizabeth Rivard, where are you? I know you moved up. Is it Ontario? Oh, a representation about a product or service by any means, whether directly or indirectly, including any communication of information about the product or service and its price and distribution that is likely to influence and shape attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors about the product or service. That is the definition of promotion. This enactment enacts the Fossil Fuel Advertising Act to prohibit the promotion of fossil fuels except in accordance with the provisions of the Act. The preamble calls climate change an existential threat and cites the 2023 forest fire season as a pretext. Oh, don't we know about those forest fires? But what is interesting is there was no mention that in multiple cases throughout 2023, the forest fires were actually arson. Arson. All right, well, we'll just forget about that. I will post the link to this article because there's much more. But criminalizing speech, well, it seems that we're not a democracy anymore. Canadians, Americans, Brits, Scots, the Irish, everyone. The military routinely disperses aluminum-coated fiberglass into the air. Okay, we know it. This was just posted today. This is by Dr. McCullough. I can't link to anything that's on Lou Rockwell, and I can't link to Dr. McCullough because YouTube just doesn't like it. But in addition to the weather modification going on around the world, militaries around the world are also routinely dispersing tiny bits of aluminum-coated fiberglass and plastic, known as chaff, into the air column to shield aircraft and ships from enemy radar. Not surprisingly, this has been done for decades without clear evidence that it's safe for humans and the environment. Yes, the Naval Medicine investigation. Inhalation of whole, intact chaff fibers pose no risk to humans due to their larger size. If inhaled, dipoles are predicted to deposit in the nose, mouth, or trachea and are either swallowed or expelled. Yeah, that's the prediction that the Naval Medicine and U.S. Armed Forces have made. It's predicted that it won't have any human effects. But when you think about the chaff, and then you think about all of the other fabulous ingredients that they are spraying above us, oh, what's sprayed up there comes down here, and we breathe it in. We breathe it all in. U.S. military offering free castration to any soldier who wants it. Can you imagine any modern army instituting such a policy? What country's population would support it? How can the population fail to riot in the streets? Soldier, if you think you can serve the nation better by having your balls cut off, let us know. We'll help you. Where, on the scale of ultimate insults and self-destruction, would you rank this army's offer to have its own fighting force? That's right. Transgenderism in the army. Did you see this? Anybody? A 200-foot steel radio tower stolen in Alabama. Stolen in Alabama. Wow. I think that puts to shame all of the Brits who are cutting down all of the surveillance cameras. Stolen. How do you make a 200-foot steel radio tower disappear? So, a landscaping crew informed this radio WJLX station general manager, Brett Elmore, that the tower was gone. There wasn't much left of the tower when they went to go maintain it. I have been in the radio business, around it all my life, and then in it professionally 26 years, and I can say I've never heard of anything like this. When we arrived, the landscaping crew called him and said, the tower is gone. I said, what do you mean the tower is gone? Are you sure you're in the right place? He said, the tower is gone. There are wires everywhere, but it's gone. All right. Now that we know it's possible, you men out there, get to it. And the, oh God, FAA. The FAA is calling for not hiring white males. How about we hire the most qualified? Can't we just get back to hiring the most qualified? You know, all right, so if you want to listen to this, you can. I think the link is a little bit too long and it might. No, it's okay. No, it's not. Okay. All right, so. All it is this woman talking about how, the diversity is very important and the domination of white males in the airline industry, and they just need more diversity. I am so bloody sick of this. No longer a conspiracy theory. Have you seen clouds appearing out of nowhere in satellite photos? Oh, I have. Yeah.
In Australia are creating man-made clouds to cool the ocean.
Yes.
Take a look.
There's 2 whole shipping containers with big air compressors in them to generate the compressed air to blast the plume. And so what we see is that the plume actually gets sucked right up into the clouds. Oh, wow. We don't have to.
Well, that's good,
anything.
right?
Yeah, it's terrific. It makes life a lot easier. And in fact, it means we're able to revise a lot of our sort of calculations as to how many stages.
There are just so many ways in which they can make cloud. Isn't that interesting? Oh, but don't worry, all of you who believe in climate change and won't even have a discussion about weather modification. Because I'm sure what you are looking at right here, well, it's just your imagination. And it's my imagination being projected onto your screen, okay? Don't worry. It's not real. But listen to this. ABC News reporting on fake food. 11 years ago, Americans, we've been asleep at the wheel for pretty much our entire lives.
And now a startling ABC News investigation. A whistleblower has come forward to tell consumers about the ground beef a lot of us buy at the supermarket. Is it what we think it is, or is it padded with a filler the whistleblower calls pink slime? ABC's senior national correspondent.
I just want to cry. I want to cry. This only happens on the live streams.
Correspondent Jim Avila set out to get answers.
Gerald Zernstein grinds his own hamburger these days. Why? Because this former USDA scientist, now whistleblower, knows that 70% of the ground beef we buy at the supermarket contains something he calls pink slime. Beef trimmings that were once used only in dog food and cooking oil, now sprayed with ammonia to make them safe to eat, and then added to most ground beef as a cheaper filler. It was Zernstein who, in a USDA memo, first coined the term pink slime, and is now coming forward to say he won't buy.
He won't buy it. Come on.
It's
please.
economic fraud. It's not fresh ground beef. It's a substitute. It's a cheap substitute being added in.
Zernstein and his fellow USDA scientist Carl Custer both warned against using what the industry calls lean, finely textured beef, and is widely known now as pink slime. But their government bosses overruled them.
Why didn't you consider it beef?
Because it was a salvage product.
Leftovers?
Fat that had been heated at low temperature and the excess fat spun out.
Here's how it's done. Those waste trimmings are gathered, simmered at low heat to make it easier to separate fat from muscle, put in a centrifuge and spun to finish the separation. Next, the mixture is sent through pipes where it's sprayed with ammonia gas to kill bacteria, and finally compressed into bricks and flash frozen for shipment to meat packers and grocery stores where it's added to most ground beef.
I'll put the link in. You can watch. But our food was taken over a long time ago, and apparently we like it. So you're telling me, due to allergies, a chef must know all the ingredients of a cupcake, but doctors don't need to know the ingredients of? Interesting. Very interesting. So yeah, the Europeans are at it. They are not stopping. Spain, day 4. far as the eye can see, just lined up with trucks. This is Poland. We're back to Spain. The police are really, well, I guess they don't understand. They're getting a paycheck, so they follow orders. And if the police don't move the car, the Spaniards will. And the French farmers are still at it. What happened to the American farmers? What happened to Americans? All right, well, at least some people in the world are fighting the best they can. Let me just run through the migration issue that we have. Whole lot of crimes. If you're not able to watch what's going on a daily basis, the crimes from the migrants are really exploding. But here we have in Britain, I think in Britain.
In 2016, Abdul Shakur Zedi, an Afghan in his late 20s, arrived in Britain illegally on the back of a lorry. He soon applied for asylum, but his case was rejected. Was he deported? Of course not. But within 2 years, Abdul had committed a sexual assault and had exposed himself. He pled guilty and was sentenced to 45 weeks in prison. Did he serve any of this time in prison? Almost certainly not. He was given a suspended sentence, and Abdul was yet again allowed to roam Britain freely. He applied for asylum a second time, this time claiming he had converted to Christianity. He got a church witness to testify to this conversion, but his second application was initially rejected. But in 2020, Abdul appealed, and despite only 2
Sorry, I didn't know my mic was on. That's a hot mic moment.
years earlier, being convicted of a sexual assault, the British state granted Abdul asylum. They granted him the right to live in this country for the rest of his life. He was then fed and housed by a charity called Action Foundation. Now, Action Foundation received almost £200,000 of your money last year. Your taxes were spent on supporting a convicted foreign sex offender. This week, Abdul has allegedly attacked a mother and 2 children with acid. He further injured 5 police officers and 4 members of the public. He is still in this country and he is on the run. Will the politicians who let Abdul into this country resign? Of course not. Will the bureaucrats who gave a convicted foreign sex offender asylum be sacked? Almost certainly not. Will the charity who were fed and housed a convicted foreign sex offender lose their support? Me and you both know the answer. The people who run our country care more for people like Abdul than they do for you or me.
Yes. So why are all these Western nations not deporting all of the criminal illegal migrants? Why? It's not just happening here in the United States. It's happening in the UK. It's happening in other countries. Why? Can't people just ask why? Well, we know the reason, but a whole lot of people are either misinformed, uninformed, don't care, apathetic, who cares? Well, you're going to care when that crime comes to you. How about Times Square shooting? Tourist shot, suspects wanted for shooting at police. Okay, they found this 15-year-old kid. Guess what? Oh, he recently arrived. He recently crossed the border. They found him in Yonkers. They have him. Will he be released back onto the street? We'll see.
A female tourist was shot at a store in Times Square. A lot to this story here. Briella Tomasetti with our Fox 5 New York team is on the ground gathering the latest details. Joining us now live. Good morning, Briella. What do we know and what is still left to figure out here?
Yeah, Josh, you know what? This is a complex story because we do have two different crime scenes. I'll try to make this a bit clearer for you. The shooter first opened fire here at the store behind me, and that's where he hit a 37-year-old woman, a tourist, in the leg. He then opened fire again a few blocks away from here when he was trying to evade police. That woman, thankfully, is in stable condition, and nobody else was hurt, which is pretty much a miracle given we are standing in the middle of Times Square. Police this morning are still on the lookout, hunting for that suspect who got away on a subway.
In Yonkers, 15 years old, unaccompanied minor. Oh my God. It really is amazing that we're just living this day after day after day.
Here, I was interviewing him he's from Senegal, didn't want to be on camera. We got those reports from Lukeville, Arizona, where thousands of illegals from Senegal and Mauritania are now coming to Cincinnati, Ohio.
Senegal.
Senegal?
Yes.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, okay.
Yeah.
Senegal.
I'll post the link if you want to watch it.
Senegal.
Senegal? Senegal? Senegal?
Ohio.
Ohio. Senegal? And Ohio? 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 Wow, a lot of Ohio. Senegal and then Ohio? Are you going to Ohio? Ohio? Mauritania? Mauritania? You want to see the reason for it is right here. Massive complex, Catholic Charities, Sukasa in Cincinnati, Ohio, one of the main beneficiaries of the invasion of our southern border, all making billions of dollars at taxpayer expense, inviting in the invasion. You want to know why our country's being invaded? Because the cartels are making billions, and these leftist NGOs, like Catholic Charities, are making billions.
Coming down to the Tucson sector, it's the hardest hit sector, but you guys were kind of looking at the environmental impacts here. What did you really take away? What was the biggest thing that you took away from this day?
You know, so people, I think, are beginning really to understand, most Americans, that the fentanyl stuff is really a big problem with the drugs. They know the human trafficking. They know the terrorists coming in. But we wanted to tell the story about the environmental degradation that's going on also. And I had a chance to be able to go over near the wall where there was a migrant camp set up and on federal forest land, and you should see the garbage and the pollution that is sitting out there. There's fires that are happening.
I don't think that this is
cutting
get
firewood
better.
that the average American would not be allowed to do on the national forest, but we allow illegal immigrants to do it.
Now, we heard Mr. Chilton, a rancher here, generational rancher, talk about $60,000 a year it costs him to keep his ranch kind of intact after people are traversing through it. When you hear something like that's a pretty staggering number for any American to deal with, and you hear rancher and you go, oh, they're doing fine. Everything matters to these people. Every water line cut, every fence cut. When you hear $60,000 a year for an American citizen here because of this crisis, what do you think?
So once again, it highlights the reason why we had the hearing. $60,000 for one rancher in terms of having to pick up pollution that's being dumped, environmental degradation that's happening, the stuff that they're dumping out there. And it's really disappointing to see the stuff that has logos on it from like Catholic Charities and the Red Cross that's being dumped out there. Supposedly they're supposed to be helping, but they're actually part of the human trafficking component of this. And then when you talk to the people in Yuma, like Mr. Bolts, who was on the panel, it can sometimes cost them millions of dollars if they have to dump their crop because illegal immigrants are going through there.
It's costing an awful lot of Americans a lot. So here he's saying, well, Americans know about the fentanyl and they know about the terrorists coming. It's like, but the pollution. How come the NGOs aren't cleaning up the border areas? I guess they're not. Border Patrol agents discovered thousands of gift cards, merchandise, 23 fake Pennsylvania driver's licenses during a checkpoint inspection. 3 of the 5 Chinese nationals arrested were asylum seekers awaiting their hearings. They were caught exploiting our nation's hospitality. How dare you? Wow, this guy has a lot of Pennsylvania licenses. Governments in Africa emptying their jails, shipping them to Central America with instructions on how to cross into the U.S. I have not verified that statement, but would you be surprised? It doesn't look like the best of the best are coming, from all over the world, are coming across the border. And here, who dumps illegal African immigrants in their illegal migrants? In Texas, this is Arizona. Okie dokie. In here. Why is Europe invaded? Illegal immigrants in Spain. Show us why. Air travel, better hotels, delicious restaurant lunches, new smartphones, pocket money, free medical care, and many other subsidies. All paid from the European taxpayers.
loo mënul dégg wóolu nit c'est comme ñàkk mën fay dem soobu ci géej bëggoon naa xam ni sama bidéew mel avenir coono la gën a laaj que liggéey ndey ci doom bu dul xëy labbe ak imam jaañ saabu bi seetal ruu ñëppay dee man xaw ma lan moo du
I'm going to read just the last 2 paragraphs of Gary Barnett's article here, The Gross Misdiagnosis of the So-Called Border Problem. Okay, I was reading this, and every article that I've read of Gary Barnett's, it has, his words resonate very loudly. Of, okay, absolutely, yep, this one didn't so much, but I think where he's going with this is to say that, you know, it's not a border issue because both parties, which is really one party, is allowing all of this to happen because our government is destroying us. So I take it that for the people who believe, oh, it's the Republicans, they're just not providing any solutions to the border issue, or all of those who believe our immigration system has broken. It's broken. They don't enforce the law. And as I was reading the last two paragraphs, I just thought that, okay, great words, but it ain't gonna happen. This is not any natural immigration invasion. It is not a planned attack by Middle East, Iran, Russia, China. Though we don't know. It isn't, but our government is also, it's not a planned attack by Mideast, Iran, Russia, China, Israel, U.S. Throw that in. It is an attack against all of you by what you, not me, call your own government or your own country. To allow this government to continue to guide and mold you, to demand compliance, to cage you inside these borders, can only serve to justify lockdowns, economic takeover, controlled currency, and a total chaotic and controlled existence, concentrating on who is coming in and how many are coming in, is nothing more than a distraction from the real problem, which is this. I don't like it when people claim that's a distraction. We've got, one would call them complex problems, problem, and then subproblem, and subproblem, and subproblem underneath the umbrella of that problem, with every agenda that is taking place. So they're not distractions. They're just, this is one aspect of the problem, this is another aspect of the problem. So concentrating on who is coming in and how many are coming in is nothing more than a distraction from the real problem, which is this government and its intentional design and plotted agenda to destroy and control you. Well, how are they, with this border issue, quote unquote, how are they going to destroy us? With an awful lot of sleeper cells that will activate and come after all of us. So it's important about who is coming in. There is no such thing as a border problem. There is nothing wrong with the border. It is this government's war against all of you that has caused all of the problems we face. Eliminate the power of government, abolish this aberrant system, and watch these problems disappear. Governments and those who own and control governments decided to control all mapped out borders, but if government did not own and control you, and own and control all the lands, especially all land on borders, how could these problems even exist? I can tell you they would not. The thing about freedom is that it defines its own borders. We don't have, I'll speak to just being an American. The American population is very sick. It's very mentally ill. And it's quite violent. A whole lot of people are violent in our country. To just eliminate the power of government means that you have to have a people with working brain cells who care That's the big problem here. We don't have that. You know, and I wish we did, but we really don't. You know, here, Venezuela deploys military to oil-rich Guyana's border. Okay, so are we going to see war heating up, you know, with Venezuela? The United States already have troops down in Guyana. The violence of our country is just unbelievable. Oh, I can't even do Biden. I'm just sick of it. U.S. activists erect camp called Bloody Blinken land to protest Gaza carnage. You know, I like seeing people take action when the action that they are taking has a moral, factual basis.
Live! Blood is on your hands! Blood is on your hands! Blood is on your hands!
Blinken! You're a war criminal! He's right there, guys.
Good
morning! Wakey, wakey, you war criminal!
Cherokee Woods is in McLean, Virginia. As you can see behind me, protesters have been camping outside of U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's home.
We're really making a settlement. We've made this an occupation of his home and his street. We want him to understand that people in Palestine sleep in tents just like these.
Sometimes we used to demonstrate and leave after a few hours, but now we decided to stay here until they listen to us.
This is not a democracy anymore. 66% of Americans have demanded for a ceasefire, and our officials are not listening.
It's around 4 degrees here, and we are in the middle of winter. But this doesn't discourage activists who have been very vocal and outspoken about Israel's war crimes in Gaza and the complicity of the U.S. government.
These are our primary tents. So we sleep 9 in that one, and we sleep 7 in this one. The day we arrived was after the snowstorm. The ground was still wet, was still icy, and was still frozen. It rained quite a lot. Our tents got flooded. We're running out of options, and we're constantly trying to think about creative ways to get through to this administration.
Biden, he's too old. I don't think he knows a lot of things. But this guy is the one who's putting all of these policies.
At night, we have been projecting messages onto his gate. For example, we know that he's been on the back of 2 trips back to back. He was trying to relax, and we made sure that his weekend was so noisy.
Protesters set up tents 5 days ago, and they are planning to stay at least until the end of this week. They say they have been insulted by some drivers, but also received support from residents.
We've been called terrorists out the window. We've been called Hamas out the window. We've also had people flip us off and curse us out. But we've also had a lot of support. People literally stopping their cars, crying.
Power to Gaza, man.
Thank you!
Stop the genocide.
Thank you! Yesterday, somebody came and joined us. He was a 76-year-old Jewish doctor and his wife. They drove from Rochester, New York, to come here and join us.
Blinken, Blinken, you can't hide. You're committing genocide.
His children have to drive by us, and we make sure that they hear our messaging, because no one in Gaza is able to escape the reality of the consequences of the decisions that he makes. So why can't he?
Well, considering that a majority of the world's people, and there are an awful lot of governments who are very against what's happening. The U.S. can stop it in a nanosecond, but nope. Send the weapons, send the money, send it all to kill people and children and starve them. It is... No, I haven't been posting much on what's happening, but because it's go to my Twitter page. You'll see what's happening. It is horrifying. It's hard to believe that this is just continuing. Everything is continuing, guys. Everything is continuing. Nothing is even slowing down. So we let the evil spread, and this is what we get. More and more evil. And if it hasn't gotten to your door, I hope it never does. I hope you never, ever have to suffer the consequences of what we've got now in our face every single day. You know, and It is horrifying. And what people are saying, Thomas Friedman, New York Times, op-ed, it truly is. I just don't understand how it is that people could take the side of claiming, they're essentially just claiming, wipe all Palestinians off the map. How does any decent human being take that position?
President Biden and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer both condemned the article. Meanwhile, longtime New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman penned an op-ed titled Understanding the Middle East Through the Animal Kingdom, in which he compared Iran to a parasitoid wasp, writing, quote, "We have no counter-strategy that safely and efficiently kills the wasp without setting fire to the whole jungle," Friedman wrote. Michigan Congress member and the only Palestinian-American U.S. lawmaker, Rashida Tlaib, said, quote, "This is blatant Islamophobia and anti-Arab racism that puts people's lives in danger," she said.
How do you even write those words? We have no counter-strategy that safely and efficiently kills the wasp without setting fire to the whole jungle. This is a maniac. He's a maniac. And as I was listening, I thought, what wasp is he talking about? The white Anglo-Saxon Protestant? Perhaps. Because the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant has done an awful lot of harm and killing to an awful lot of people. But I find what's happening frightening in the sense that I can't make sense of it. I can't make sense of it. This is not the world, that I grew up in, that I was educated in, that I read the news publications, I listened to the radio, everything. For me, I demarcate my life pre 9/11 and post 9/11. And post 9/11, things just became increasingly, violently insane. It was obvious to me that, okay, we are changing. This country, there are criminal organizations and they call themselves government officials, but it was very obvious that we were taking a real fast turn into a tyranny. And then you try to have conversations with those educated friends that you had, that I had. Nobody cared. No one. So I've known for a long time, care is essential. It's essential. You can't... Iraq closer to expelling U.S. troops after drone strike in busy neighborhood. And a statement from a military commander-in-chief said the U.S. has shown no regard for civilian lives or international law. Yes, this has been true my entire life. But Americans, a whole lot, just don't want to face the truth. And we're putting more and more people in jail, political prisoners. I mean, Judge rules former Trump advisor Peter Navarro will remain in prison while he appeals his contempt conviction. Yeah, because this man he's a danger to society. They're showing you. Those on the red side are getting jailed. They're political prisoners, and they are showing you the tyranny that is quite rampant now. Whatever happened to the contempt of Hunter Biden? Oh, right, nothing. Okay, I'm going to play probably half of this. The Pathology of America, Dehumanization, Greed, and the Decline of Empire. When you listen, I hope you listen with an open mind that you're hearing words and a whole lot talk about government and people in the government and military, but also ordinary people. We could not have gotten here without the pathology of the American people and their psyche.
Well, I mean, this is a typical pathology. This is a typical pathology of the United States, to be honest. If you have something that they want, if you have something that they need, then they hate you. They demean you and they dehumanize you. You're not just an enemy to them, you're not even human. They need you to not be human, so that they can morally justify to themselves all of the cruelty and the brutality that they will employ against you, to exploit you, to use you, and to pillage whatever you have that they want. Because they want to be able to enslave and abuse you in good conscience. The most obvious example, of course, is slavery. But of course, that was just one, maybe the most acute and the most grotesque form of dehumanization that they did. But this is just their way. You know, from the enslaved Africans, they wanted their labor, and they wanted the wealth that was produced by their labor. Now, other nations had slaves. The Muslims had slaves too, but no one else in history, no one else in the world assigned slaves subhuman status. As I've talked about before, slaves in the Muslim world could rise to an even higher socioeconomic status than their masters. In the Muslim world, the slave and the owner were brothers, but in America, the slave was considered a beast of burden, and the owner of the slave was a sadistic beast master. Now, they needed it to be this way. They needed it to be this way because fundamentally, they do not know how or do not believe in peaceful, equitable transactions. They don't believe in mutual benefit. Mutual benefit to them represents some kind of loss for them. They don't believe in harmonious relations, fair transactions, fair exchange, and all of that. They believe in conquest. America was built on stolen land and sustained by stolen labor. And it has a long-standing habit, a tradition of dehumanizing those who possess what it desires. So for the African slaves, they were dehumanized for their labor, for the sweat and tears that built the foundation of a nation claiming freedom for all. But they had to dehumanize them in order to make that claim, you see, because they wanted to be able to pretend that they were good, righteous, enlightened people who believed that all men are created equal. But they also wanted to continue treating African slaves as less than human, as less than equal. So they had to invent this idea that, well, they're not fully human, so therefore it doesn't count. It wasn't a violation of their principles to treat beasts of burden as unequal. By dehumanizing them, they were able to convince themselves that chattel slavery didn't contradict with their claims of virtue. Or you can look at the Native Americans. The indigenous inhabitants of that land for centuries were dehumanized for the richness beneath their feet, for the land. They were pushed to the margins. Their cultures were erased. The lands that they held sacred were violated, all for America's insatiable, ruthless hunger for more, for expansion, for dominance. They don't understand the idea of coexistence, of peace and harmony. They believe in the philosophy of the last man standing. That's their approach to the world. First within what's now the territorial United States, and then the entire Western Hemisphere, and then to the whole planet. This is what they applied. Mexico, Central America, South America. You see, the Latin Americans, their natural resources were sought, and so their sovereignty was trampled upon. America's pursuit of what it desires has always been characterized by exploitation, domination, and subjugation. For all their talk about capitalism and the market, free exchange and so on, for all their talk about this, it's not what they practice, and it's not what they fundamentally believe. For them, capitalism means we make the money, we make the profit, we benefit. Everything is ours and nothing is yours. Well, that's not capitalism. It's barbarism. It's piracy. You can't go into a business deal or a negotiation with that mentality. That's the mentality that you have when you commit a bank robbery, not a business agreement. But you see, they can't admit to themselves that they're actually just glorified pirates, glorified mafiosos, marauders, because they have a need to believe about themselves that they're good, enlightened, civilized people. So the only way that they can reconcile their barbaric instincts with their need to believe in their own goodness is by dehumanizing everyone else.
Okay, that was 4 minutes and 46 seconds of a 15-minute and 20-second talk, and I'll put the link in, but it is true. Look, you can't deny that there's something rather violent about Americans on the whole. Their lack of care and apathy is a violence. It ends up manifesting violence upon other people. We've got an awful lot of Americans who do not live by natural law principles. In other words, you do no harm to other sentient beings, for sure. But when you look at what has happened, that has happened because there's a relationship between the people and the government, and we have known for a very long time that we are doing these drone strikes, bombing other countries, taking over the resources of other countries, shock and awe. The Iraq War, we knew that it was based on a lie. We've known that our government lies, but we have not done anything. So, that is the problem. When we have elderly being put out on the street because they can't afford the skyrocketing rents, and we can't do anything to help them out, something is wrong. Our American psyche is about domination, power over. And boy, does that need to change. Boy, does that need to change. Ukraine puts Tucker Carlson on hit list following his interview with Vladimir Putin. I don't care much about his... Apparently there was no mention of Israel, there was no mention of Gaza. A lot of things were, probably just not mentioned, but Putin, all of these world leaders, perhaps China and Russia are just working to have more power. The BRICS nations, for sure, working to have more power in this new world order. But Moscow is a World Economic Forum hub. So, and when you think of Ukraine, when you think of Israel, you cannot separate out the United States. We took over Ukraine in 2014, and just injected our own people into their government. Zelensky is just a U.S. puppet. We know that. But there's so much that I had been posting on Odyssey And because I knew that it would just, YouTube wouldn't like it, about everything that Ukraine was doing to their own citizens. Anybody who even had a Russian accent, the Nazis in Ukraine, the corruption in the Ukrainian government. No matter how much evidence you have on any problem, issue, agenda that we have, we can't break through to a whole lot of people. And that is what is taking us down. You know, we are supporting a country that has a hit list, and a whole lot of people are on that hit list, kill list, that have those who have any kind of influence. If they come out and say something that's in opposition to that U.S. narrative, they're placed on the hit list. This is where the billions go. Americans, if they could unite, we could begin to fight against this criminal government that we have. But it's just not going to happen. And then when you think about, well, the food in our country is absolutely poisonous, horrible, feeding to the kids what only some evil satanic monster would feed to kids. This is what Americans feed to children. So something is wrong. Something is very wrong here.
Can I have a Happy Meal, please? Can I have some Coke, please? Hiya.
Happy Meal, yeah?
Yes. Do I need to bring my child, my baby, to get Happy Meal? Thank you very much. Will this make me happy? Will it make me happy?
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Are you happy?
I'm happy. This is just, look at that. That's awesome. That's so happy, isn't it? Look. McDonald's Happy Meal. You may think that's obvious. We know this is shit. I bet you didn't know how shit this is. This is called a Happy Meal because McDonald's want your child to associate happiness with this fucking shit. This is America's contribution to giving the whole world childhood obesity, metabolic diseases, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease. We got children as young as 8 with fatty liver disease because of shit like this. Look, this is targeted for children. Look at the eye. Look. This cartoon is supposed to make your child want more. Then they give you a fucking toy. Come on, guys. Now, this has got 40 fucking ingredients. It's a chicken nugget. What the fuck is this? And then they got fries. This got fries. 19
Wow, this is very frustrating.
ingredients. The fries I knew were just a fucking potato. This is 19 ingredients. Guys, if you're giving this to your child, you don't give a fuck about them. This is not even a once in a while food. It's not. You don't eat this at all. And this fucking drink, Coke, just fucking sugar. Guys, wake the fuck up. Don't let them do this to our children. This is fucking shit. My accountant's going to say, well, what's this? I'm like, well, it's a Happy Meal. Eddie, why are you eating Happy Meal? Because I fancied Happy Meal today.
That's another problem. Parents. You know, I mean, a lot of people think that being civilized is just being nice. Being a nice person. Not causing any problems. Go along to get along. Parents are not quite right in our country. If they really loved their children, they would not be putting up with what we are now putting up with. You know, they would be out there, and there are some parents who are, especially the mothers, the mama bears, who are out there fighting, doing everything that they can. But this has been going on forever. My entire life. Food just getting worse and worse and worse. Vaccine schedule, more and more and more. You know, and are we not part of this manifestation of evil in this country? Of course we are. $18 for a Big Mac combo meal? $7 for an Egg McMuffin? Are you flippin' kidding me? That's what it costs now? Are you kidding? Okie dokie. Have McDonald's prices gotten too expensive? You think? $18. What, that is really hard to comprehend. And here we go. You know, a whole lot of people still put, you know, these people into power positions. They still regard them with such respect. They put them on pedestals. And they are bloodthirsty murderers.
You say to the majority of your constituents that feel absolutely betrayed by you. Absolute betrayal. Ceasefire now, you coward, traitor.
Ukrainians are dying in this fight every day.
What about the folks dying in Gaza? Do you have anything to say about that?
I'm hoping we will. That is a key piece of this. Absolutely. For which I am also fighting.
Israel.
The war does not make Jews safer.
So why are you not troubled with Hamas terrorists?
I am, but
Wait,
the
you
war
sure don't
does
sound
not,
like it. Killing Hamas makes Israel safer.
Killing 30,000 civilians doesn't make anyone safe. Killing 30,000 civilians, 10,000 children. I beg you, Senator Romney. I have a little baby, 18-month-old, who's dying right now in Gaza. Senator, please, I have a baby dying in Gaza. Please vote no.
Yeah, Hamas is responsible for killing all those children.
But the civilians aren't.
I know.
Civilians are not.
Hamas kills children. Hamas is an evil organization. I hope Israel destroys Hamas. That's what I hope. And I want to help Israel destroy Hamas.
But what about the children?
What
is on your hands? Millions of little girls are going to civilians of genocide. No more. Shame on you. You vote no for more money to Israel? Yours has one of the highest poverty states in the whole country.
I'm going to vote yes.
You're going to vote yes. What do you have a little girl who's dying right now?
And I said, just like you're keeping the money for Ukraine here at home where it's needed, we all agree with you. Why do you not do the same for Israel? It's $18 billion that will go to Israel.
We need that money in America.
We need the American
We need that money for
here.
education, for social security.
Because I'm not an anti-Semite. I believe in the right of Israel to defend itself. And I believe in the right of the Jewish people to be safe.
And how about the people of Missouri needing that money, Senator? Senator Holly, people at Missouri need that money.
I wish I had an Israel flag to wave.
I know, but they
What's up? Israel has the right to defend itself. Can I say something?
Defend itself by human beings.
Can I talk? 1 second. Can I tell you something?
You're an actual war criminal. Have you seen the war crimes that the Israeli soldiers laugh about?
What's happening in Gaza is not Israel defending itself. I am so sick of all of the bullshit in this country. The violence of this bullshit is beyond. I certainly would
Well, now
not
to the
have been
latest
able
on that
to
brutal
imagine how evil this country would have gotten like 2 decades ago. No, maybe 3 decades ago. It is now the imaginable. And what is next? Try to imagine what's next. How about you and your family being attacked? A million children on the brink of famine.
We'll pick up on that if that's okay.
Elsewhere, those who have survived the fighting are awash with despair.
There are no blankets or clothes. The rain has drowned us. There are no beds, no clothes, no warmth, and not even food for the children to eat.
Heavy rain in the north has flooded the Jabalia refugee camp in Gaza City. 85% of Gaza's population have been forced from their homes, but they can't survive like this indefinitely.
The weather is making conditions so difficult for us. As you can see, all our homes are made of plastic or tents. They can't withstand these storms. We don't have dry blankets or clothes for our children.
Some military analysts suggest Hamas has regained a foothold around Gaza City. Given Israel's renewed attacks in the area, they could be right. The Palestinian Red Crescent has released new footage of what it says are medics transporting 16 bodies to a Gaza City hospital after a house in the city centre was targeted. The UN Secretary-General has held an urgent meeting with donor countries to try to renew support for its embattled Palestinian Refugee Agency. Several nations withdrew financial backing after allegations some UNRWA staff were linked to the October 7 Hamas attacks. The UN says medical supplies are running dangerously low and a quarter of the population are on the brink of starvation.
UNRWA is the backbone of all humanitarian response in Gaza. I appeal to all member states to guarantee the continuity of UNRWA's life-saving work. Excellencies, the humanitarian system in Gaza is collapsing. I'm extremely concerned by the inhumane conditions faced by Gaza's 2.2 million people as they struggle to survive without any of the basics. Everyone in Gaza is hungry, while 500,000 grapple with catastrophic levels of food insecurity.
Major donor country Norway has urged other nations to reconsider as a matter of urgency as the death toll keeps rising. Melinda Nusafora, TRT World.
Okay, this is what Netanyahu had to say, because the dismantling of UNRWA has been a long-time goal of the Israeli state.
And I think it's time that the international community and the UN itself understand that UNRWA's mission has to end. UNRWA is self-perpetuating. It is self-perpetuating also in its desire to keep alive the Palestinian refugee issue. And we need to get other UN agencies and other aid agencies replacing UNRWA if we're going to solve the problem of Gaza as we intend to do.
So according to Netanyahu, we can trust them. They're going to solve the problem. We don't need UNRWA.
Well, personally, I think the Houthis need to understand that Prime Minister Netanyahu's mission needs to end. But we'll move on from there. So, it was originally reported that there were 12 Hamas members working for UNRWA that were involved on October 7th. Today, Sky News reports it was actually 6 or less. They put it at 4 or 5.
Now, this is in an agency of what, 13,000 people?
13,000 employees. Now, all that shows is Hamas militants had day jobs. That's all. That's not new. I'm not sure why anyone would laugh at that. I'm sure there were Hamas members who worked in bakeries. I'm sure there were Hamas members who worked in banks. I'm sure there were Hamas members who worked in every corner of of Gazan life. That's all it shows. Has there even been an allegation? Has there even been an allegation that UNRWA, for your listeners, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, has there even been an allegation that UNRWA was privy to the Hamas mission? No, the allegation has never been made. So let's take a simple example. Let's say I teach at City University of New York. And it turns out some of the Israeli students at the City University of New York, they committed war crimes in Gaza. I think that's perfectly possible. I think actually it's likely. Okay? So then what does the City Council do? It decides to defund City University of New York. Does that make any logical sense?
Virtually nothing makes any sense anymore. Yeah, I'm going to go back to, I clicked off it. I'm sorry, but it was Naomi Klein, and I sure disagree with her on a lot of issues. I'll probably play it tomorrow night. This video where she came out of her Zionist psyche. Naomi Klein is a Jew. And she was on a stage with Gabor Mate and another young activist, Jewish activist, who is part of the I can't remember the name of the Jewish organization that so many who are calling for a ceasefire. So there's an awful lot of Jews who are dead against this and do not see this as Israel defending itself. Oh, God. Some days I can't stand looking at the in-your-face of what we have become. And talk about terrorizing people. Actually, that's what Naomi Klein was talking about, how, you grow up in these Jewish families with Jewish organizations that keep you terrified. And there's no reason for it, no basis for it. There is anti-Semitism just like there is racism. Of course. And there probably always will be, because it's an individual sickness that just corrupts and destroys, the mind. It can't think properly. The individual that has that sickness in their mind needs to do work on themselves to cure that sickness. When you don't cure the sickness, unfortunately, that seems to be exploited. Carry it all over to the aggregate. All people want Jews to die. So not true. So not true. But look at this principle. Talk about terrifying children.
Dismissal time at Washington Elementary in San Gabriel. Children and parents upset by what the school principal did during a lockdown drill.
She proceeded to walk around the campus and pretend to shoot people she saw using finger movements and banging on the window. From what I heard, one of the students was told, "Boom, you're dead."
Children as young as 4 years old.
He was really upset.
Witnessed the ordeal, including Jennifer Chavez's first grade son.
The one shocking, surprising thing he said as a 6-year-old was, "I'm just really glad none of my friends died."
Now the principal at the school, Dr. Nina Denson, has been put on leave.
Was this drill approved by the district?
No, it wasn't. This type of drill where a scenario was run is not approved by the district or part of our district protocol.
The superintendent confirmed to KTLA that the drill did happen yesterday.
A school principal has been put on leave after witnesses say she held a disturbing active shooter safety drill at a San Gabriel elementary school. The superintendent says the drill was not authorized.
From what I heard, one of the students was told, boom, you're dead.
Children as young as 4 years old.
He was really upset.
Witnessed the ordeal, including Jennifer Chavez's first grade son.
The one shocking, surprising thing he said as a 6-year-old was, I'm just really glad none of my friends died.
Now the principal at the school, Dr. Nina Denson, has been put on leave.
Was this drill approved by the district?
No.
What this principal did was, with her fingers, point at these little young children, point at them and pretend she was shooting them. What kind of people do that? Oh, sad. Really, just unbelievably sad. So, here, are we going to have a civil war?
I think we're going to be in big trouble if he doesn't win. I really am. I can't imagine Nikki Haley running the country. She gets very upset when she's being questioned about her daughter being on TikTok. She blew up at a debate. If Biden gets in again, it's all over. It's all over.
In what way?
We're going to be in World War III.
It's all over already. A lot of Americans don't know that. They can't see what has been going on in this country, and they can't see the big picture. I'll post the link to this. If anybody thinks that government is going to solve the problem that they created, let's talk about doing the same old and expecting a different result. So this is the Young Turks. I don't want to play it because I don't know if I'd get a copyright strike, but less than half of Americans very satisfied with their own lives. Oh, really? What a shocker. What a shocker. For just the third time in more than 2 decades, less than half of Americans say they are very satisfied with the way things are going in their personal lives. The 47% of U.S. adults expressing high satisfaction with their lives has edged down 3 percentage points over the past year. But a whole lot of people have, these are polls, and there's a whole lot of people who, well, I have to sound positive. So I'm going to say I'm satisfied when they're miserable. Yeah, we do an awful lot of lying ourselves. Only 3 in 10 Americans were aware of U.S. troops in Syria prior to the deadly attack. Are you kidding me? Only 3 in 10 Americans were aware. How is that even possible? We've been in Syria for over a decade. How is that possible? We're in Syria stealing their oil, domination, power, taking over countries. How is it even possible? Obama said he was going to withdraw troops from Syria. Trump went back and forth about the withdrawal of troops in Syria, but then he added more troops into Syria. If this is true, we are really in bad shape. And, well, you know that we are already. You do know, right? There was an article. Where the hell is it? Oh. Did I not bring it up? Wow. Okay, I thought for sure I did, but apparently in Illinois and Maryland, not one grade school, I can't remember the year, but it doesn't matter, not one was proficient in math and reading. Not one. This is what they are doing to the younger generation. The adults in this country really should care. But unfortunately, a whole lot don't. Even the parents. So, think about that. Is there a future in this country? Not the one that you and I actually enjoyed, considering. Whatever your circumstance, my life has not been easy. But I have to say, it was a walk in the park, considering what these kids are facing. I'll post the link to this. 2024 is the new 1984, Big Brother and the Rise of the Security Industrial Complex. Of course, 2024 is the new 1984, fueled by a melding of government and corporate power, the rise of security industrial complex. It's big. This watershed moment sounds a death knell for our privacy rights. An unofficial fourth branch of government, the surveillance state, came into being without any electoral mandate or a constitutional referendum, and yet it possesses superpowers above and beyond those of any other government agency save the military. It operates beyond the reach of the President, Congress, and the courts, and it marches in lockstep with the corporate elite who really call the shots in D.C. This is the new face of tyranny in America, all-knowing, all-seeing, all-powerful. Give it a little bit of time, and we are all trapped in hell. I will post a link to this article, Jonathan Whitehead. I've recommended that people bookmark his site. His commentaries are, very important. Very important. Meta removes Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei. I think that's how you pronounce name. You're removed. The leader of Iran, following months of pressure from pro-Israel groups. These are the people that we support. Now, I don't support, and you don't support. Israel, I have always said, is just one of the axes of the evil, the UK, the US. He had an account of more than 5.1 million followers. His English language account was 204,000. We have removed these accounts for repeatedly violating our dangerous organizations and individuals' policy, and the leader of Iran, because he has a different narrative than the narrative that is pushed by the U.S. and Israel. This guy is making a complete and utter ass of Americans on the world stage. It's purposeful, as far as I'm concerned. He's constantly saying things like, he spoke to Mitterrand in a G7 meeting just a couple of years ago. Mitterrand was dead. Then he says that, he had a conversation with Helmut Kohl. Oh, I think I might be. Well, a German leader that died. But he has these, I see dead people. Every time he gets up there to speak publicly, he's making an utter ass out of Americans. Because on the world stage, the world's people are saying, how are the Americans allowing this to happen? Oh, it was coal. Okay. I mean, it's kind of frightening. Well, the woman was rescued from that sinkhole that was right outside the door of a mobile home that she walked out of and fell into 25 feet. She was rescued finally.
Cries in anguish. A woman rescued after plunging 25 feet down an old septic tank right outside her home. It was a scene of chaos and concern. Family members in tears.
This provider really sucks, and I just hope I don't know what the hell is going on.
That Imelda,
because
her
it was
husband,
not like this in the beginning. Using this CenturyLink provider here. 70 New York City housing workers arrested for bribery. Oh, but it's not, and fortunately I don't get most people leaving comments that I'm tired of you attacking Americans. I'm tired of you blaming Americans. Americans are good people. It's only government people, they're Americans. Well, that's, I guess, lost on them.
Corruption at the New York City Housing Authority. Yet again, a massive takedown by the U.S. Attorney's Office, the city's Department of Investigation, and other agencies, putting 70 current and former NYCHA employees in handcuffs for bribery and extortion. The crime? NYCHA staff allegedly received $2 million in bribes from contractors looking to get business from the authority. A classic pay-to-play scheme, says the U.S. Attorney.
As the charges show, superintendents accepting and extorting bribes from contractors had become business as usual, occurring in almost 100 NYCHA buildings across all 5 boroughs.
Pervasive and systemic. A map shows just how many developments were caught up in the scandal. All of the ones in red seen here, almost a third of the authority's massive portfolio. The staff...
Dehumanization, greed, dominance. We got it going. Police catch woman accused of spray painting 50-plus vehicles. People are out of their flippin' minds.
A Capitol police officer was patrolling downtown Wednesday when he noticed something. A woman who looked familiar. Turns out she's the suspect in a vandalism spree that left more than 50 cars in this parking garage with fresh lines of spray paint on them last week. The officer found that 34-year-old Denise Honorio not only matched the description, she was even wearing the same clothes as when she was caught on surveillance footage with a can of spray paint in hand Friday.
He brought her here to the post to continue that investigation, and that's when this investigation really took an interesting turn.
That's because state police say they found a driver's license belonging to someone else in her pocket. Detectives reached out to the owner, who they now believe was assaulted and robbed by Honorio the very same day curly white lines haphazardly appeared on dozens of cars.
We don't know exactly why she painted the cars, but we're certainly glad that the alert officer recognized her. Now we can bring closure to a more serious crime.
According to court documents,
what the hell? What the hell? You know, I have said throughout the years that more and more, as you see people getting evicted, you see people going off the financial edge, losing everything, that, you know, it is certainly my estimation of Americans that they will get very angry at those who still have. You know, so I see these and I wonder, you know, did this woman have her car repossessed and just want to lash out at all of the other people who own their cars? We are not a well people. We are not a well people. So I bring that up an awful lot because it's not just the sleeper cells that will activate, but yeah, and the Second Amendment is not going to, you know, protect us from our government, but the Second Amendment could protect you from your fellow Americans who lose it. You know, an awful lot of people millions upon millions upon millions, have no clue who they are. And they're so attached to their stuff and their egos. And when you begin to lose things, if you don't have any substance inside of you and know who you are, the stress, the chronic stress, can end up making people regress to a base level of behavior. Unfortunately, that base level is not pretty. The 5 helicopter, the missing Marines, a whole lot, they pronounced dead before they even found them. They found the helicopter, but the Marines, it took an awful lot to find them. I think there's something amiss in this story with the helicopter. Oh, here it is. Democrats fail Democrats. You have an awful lot of Republicans. Okay? Who haven't done squat. Dozens of schools in Illinois and Maryland have 0 kids proficient in math. As an American adult, I will say that we're all responsible for this. If you've known and haven't done anything, that's what allows this to spread. Average test scores for United States 13-year-olds have dipped in reading and dropped sharply in math since 2020. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, the average scores from tests given last fall declined 4 points in reading, 9 points in math. 53 schools in Illinois had 0 students proficient in math. Yet the state spends $40.6 billion on K-12 education. So money is not the problem. What's the problem is all of these schools, numbers of students who are math proficient. All of these schools, none. Not a single student can read at grade level in 30 Illinois schools. None. Do you think we're going anywhere good? We're not. There you go. Department of Education created in 1979. Since then, America went from 1st to 24th in education. Government centralization of power. This is where it takes us. Oh, really, Christine? They're making the tests harder and harder each year? And that's why they're not proficient? So, to all of you, I just say, keep that awareness up. So much is going on that you really do need to be aware of your surroundings, aware of your own self, and I wish we weren't living this, but we are. And on that note, I say thank you all for showing up. I hope to see you tomorrow. Stay safe. Live honestly and speak honestly. Become a trustworthy human being. It is very important. So, good night and good luck and ciao.